I met Seth at the New School Montessori Center, which is where I was working, where I still work. His niece and nephew went there, so he would help bring them to school on certain mornings. And I remember everybody there thought that he was their dad because we all the time saw him instead of their actual dad. So all the girls there kind of had a crush on him, but we all thought he was off the market. But then we all found out that he was in fact on the market through talking to Erica, his sister, the kid's mom. It just kind of became a game, a competition to see which one of us could actually get him. But yeah, it's brought us here to today, so I won.
Torey and I met at the Montessori school where she works. I used to bring my niece and nephew there regularly for their schooling, and she worked the front desk. So pretty much the first time I saw her, I was like, yeah, I definitely like her. And then pretty much from there, we joked around here and there, worked on a few school events together, and really had some time to get to know each other, even though it was her work setting. But it worked out pretty well for us.
So kind of once we, again, all realized that he wasn't taken, we would do a lot of things at the school. So we had international night, we'd have fall festival, and Seth would work a lot of those. The first time him and I actually really talked was at an overnight sleepover at the school with all the kids, and Seth stayed, and we kind of like spoken to each other here and there, but that was actually the first time that we had a full in-depth conversation. It kind of like ended there. We didn't really exchange phone numbers or anything, and then it just kind of became our typical hey in the mornings to each other. But then when we worked fall festival together, that was where it just kind of evolved. He asked for my phone number and then asked me out on our first date. I remember he asked me to go to lunch because since he's a police officer, his work schedule was a little bit off. And so I had to leave work to actually go on our first date with him. We went to Chipotle, which I later came to find out he hates Chipotle, but he didn't say anything at the time. But I remember while we were at Chipotle, he'd actually told me sitting there that he was thinking about moving back to Rhode Island. And I remember my thoughts were like, well, then why am I here? But we ended up going on our second date, which we joked is actually our first because he hates Chipotle. But we ended up going to the Mill in downtown Fuquay and having a couple drinks. And nothing really evolved from that because he actually did end up moving back to Rhode Island. But I remember it was actually today, 4 years ago, that he made the trip back down to North Carolina to move here. And so he showed up on my doorstep on December 15th, and that's just kind of how we began dating.
So in the progression of our relationship, I guess you could call it, one of the events at the Montessori school, we were at one of the fires. All the kids were out in the tents asleep, and we were pretty much just hanging out, talking with each other, and got to know each other a little bit better. And then I'm pretty sure, I like to say that I asked her out, but it was mainly Torey. I mean, she knew I was shy, and she kind of pushed into it, and then next thing I know, we're going on a date in the Mill in Fuquay and having a great time with each other and really starting to progress into a relationship and figuring out that what we mean to each other. I mean, and then eventually we just started seeing each other more regularly and going on dates and then staying with each other a few nights a week and then into living together and building a relationship, especially with Bella, and had the beginnings to a family. Bella, when I met your mother, I thought to myself that I was the happiest I would ever be. Then I met you. Being a part of yours and your mother's lives have been one of the greatest blessings I have ever known. I am honored and proud each day I get to experience with you both. You are so kind, caring, and intelligent, and quirky, just like your mother. You have put your faith in me to be there for her and make her happy. I promise to never let you down and look forward to our future as a family. Blood or not, I consider you as my daughter. I love you, kiddo.
So I think both of us went into this relationship kind of with the idea that it wasn't a game. Like, we knew we both kind of wanted something long term. We wanted somebody who was serious and that we could be serious about. I had gotten out of a previous long-term relationship that had its problems. Seth had never really been in a long-term relationship, and so we were both kind of navigating the water at the same time from different perspectives, if you want to say that. But we enjoyed each other's company. We were able to relate to a lot of things. We had a lot of things in common, and I think we both understood that we were able to help each other evolve and work through a lot of our individual pasts and come to terms with things and grow from them. So I remember the first time that I told Seth that I loved him was actually he had a night terror and he couldn't sleep. And I just remember that it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I just remember that I rolled over and I hugged him and I just said, "I love you, you know that, right?" And he didn't say it back, but I don't know if he just thought it was I was comforting him or what. But about a week later, he told me that he loved me too. And it's been a journey, but it's been one that's been worth it. He is a police officer in Dunn, and so he actually had to stay in Dunn quite a bit, and so I only really saw him on the weekends. But once he got his new position as investigator, his schedule changed, and so that was able to bring us together a little bit more. I lived in Cary at the time. And then he moved in August of 2020.
Torey and I, as we got to know each other, first year or so, it was, for me, a new experience. I'd never had, a serious girlfriend before or anything, and I wasn't sure that I ever really would have one. But when we got together and we started, actually seeing each other all the time and being with each other, talking with each other, I realized that I wanted that deeper connection with someone, and she was the person I wanted it with. I felt the relationship in my mind progress to the point where, you want to talk to that person, you want to bring your problems to that person, you want to be there for that person. And that's how I knew that I was falling in love and became in love with Torey.
My best friend, my sister, and my daughter had never actually been in the same place at the same time all together. So last Christmas, it was a pretty big deal because I knew that they were all going to be here at the same time. My sister lives in Florida, my best friend lives in Iowa, and then I've always had Bella here. So I was really looking forward to having all of them together with me. It wasn't on Christmas, they all got here the 26th, but Seth knew that I was really excited about it and that it was gonna mean a lot to me. But I remember that we were watching a movie. I think it was like Christmas Eve. Taryn, my best friend, and her husband were there. And I just remember, it was like the third movie we would watch that day where there was a Christmas proposal. And I remember saying something like, I just don't understand why people would propose on Christmas. It's such like an overrated thing to do. I said something along those lines. And I just remember everybody in the entire house got extremely quiet. And then there was like that very obvious change of subject all of a sudden. So it's kind of like this a little bit weird. But when it didn't happen on Christmas, I thought that I just overthought everything and that it was just all in my head. But on December 26th, when my sister and my brother-in-law got into town and we were all doing presents, I had ordered McDonald's from DoorDash for all of us just to eat while doing presents. And we had gotten done, and I remember I stood up with like all the trash. And I remember like Seth got right in front of me, and I looked at him and I was like, move. I was like, get out of my way, like I was holding trash. And then right then is when he started to get down on his knee as I was holding a bunch of trash. So we all laugh about that to this day, but it's one of those things I've told everybody of, I was literally wearing torn fuzzy socks while obsessively cleaning my house and holding trash when he decided to ask me to be his wife. So it's like, if you can literally still want to marry me in that kind of state, then you're something special. So.
So the proposal was quite interesting, actually. Torey, she always talked about how cheesy it would be for someone to propose around Christmas time and that, but it just happened that some of the most important people in her life, her sister, her best friend, and her daughter Bella, were going to be all there for Christmas last year. And the greatest thing about it was I talked to them ahead of time, and they were all in on it. And, I went ahead and figured, I won't do it the day of Christmas because she talks about how cheesy it is and everything. But since everyone's going to be there, I'll go ahead and do it while the people who mean the most to her in her life are going to be there for that moment, are going to see it. And honestly, I tried to write something to say ahead of time, but I ended up just winging it, and she almost walked away trying to throw out some trash, and I kind of just like, no, you got to go over here, you got to stand here real quick, and then she realized what was happening. But it was a great moment. I loved every minute of it. I know she did too, and just to see that moment with her where she had the most important people in her life there, and showing her that basically I wanted her to be the most important person in my life, and she was.
I think one of the things that I love the most about Seth is he's very caring, and he's very respectful, and he's extremely thoughtful. And he'll all the time tell people that I'm the thoughtful one, but I'm more thoughtful when it comes to material things, when it comes to gifts and things along those lines. I'm really good about that, but when it comes to acts of service or words of affirmation, Seth is extremely thoughtful in that regard. He never ceases to surprise me with the things that he does and says for people. He always takes the high road, so I will be honest, I'm very petty. That is definitely a fault of mine. I'm very stubborn, but Seth is not that way at all, and he never has been. And when I get mad, my words shoot to kill, and it's also something I'm working on, but Seth is very patient through that, and he has never once said anything mean or disrespectful to me. He has chosen to take Bella as his own, and he has nothing but love for her. So that's kind of my laundry list, is he's just overall somebody that I don't deserve.
The things about Torey that I find so amazing is one of the things that most people don't probably say when they think of this is she's so resilient. I mean, having a daughter at a young age, raising her, and she's raised a great kid, progressing with her career, getting her degrees, everything. She's inspirational. And to live with her and have that person as your significant other, your partner for the rest of your life, it's what more could you want? Someone like that, someone so, and of course she's beautiful, and I'll brag on her a little bit later, but she's someone who knows any of my secrets, all of my secrets, and she has accepted me for who I am. And that was one of the biggest things, is she loves me unconditionally. And then come, what do we say, an hour from now, hopefully I won't be tripping down the aisle or anything, but I'll be able to see her down the aisle. We'll read the vows that I had to Google to find out. No, I handwrote them all, Torey. But I'll get to tell her exactly how I feel, and I guess show her in the most significant way, which is saying I do and letting her know that I want to be with her the rest of my life.
Up, 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 up.